Welcome to the Technology Alchemist, your source for technology advice, strategic technology planning, technology coaching, time-saving advice, and a pragmatic look at increasing revenue and profit through your technology engine. I'm your host, the Technology Alchemist himself, Mike Mahoney. Now, today's sponsor is Top Tier Coaching Services. Top Tier is a business coaching service that will help you get control of your time, improve your operational efficiency, and scale your business to 7 figures. If you need help scaling your business, you should schedule a call today at toptiercoachingservices.com. Now, my guest today is William Branum, founder and CEO of Naked Warrior Recovery. It's a CBD company focused on the recovery of veterans and first responders. He is a retired Navy SEAL with 26 years of service. He has served on both traditional SEAL teams, taught as a SEAL Sniper Instructor, and served on teams that specialize in undersea operations, whose missions must be approved by the President of the United States. He led major combat operations ranging from protecting the interim Iraqi elected officials to direct action missions in Baghdad and across Ambar province. After retiring from the military in 2018, he realized that he was suffering from physical and psychological symptoms that negatively impacted his well-being and quality of life. Migraines, severe anxiety, chronic pains, difficulty focusing, difficulty sleeping, falling asleep, and depression are some of the symptoms he struggled with on a daily basis. Like so many others, he used alcohol and prescription drugs to mask the symptoms he had. Then he discovered CBD and it changed his life. It had such an impact on him, he started Naked Warrior Recovery to bring the highest quality products to the market and to teach the Get Naked mindset. Welcome to the show, William.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And
that's quite the intro you got there.
Yeah, that's your bio. You've done a lot.
I'm like, that guy's impressive. Who is that? I should probably check him out.
Like, I'm especially impressed with the Navy SEAL part. We all have our views of what a Navy SEAL is. So,
right.
And most people think that's like the toughest guy out there. So that's pretty awesome. But I'm sure with everything going on today in Afghanistan, you probably have some feelings about that.
I certainly have feelings.
Yeah, we all don't. We all. But I will tell you this. I think how you stumbled onto CBD is amazing. But I think even better is that you took it and you ran with it and tried to turn it into, a business enterprise. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that, how, like the start of your company and what brought you there?
I heard about CBD before it was cool. Like, it became cool December 20th of 2018 after the passing of the Farm Bill. But I had heard about it. I was driving to work, listening to a podcast, Tim Ferriss or something. I don't really remember. And the guy on the episode was talking about medical marijuana and things like that. And he's like, everyone knows about the molecule THC, but there's this other molecule that has all these other medicinal benefits, like, reducing stress and anxiety, reducing, chronic inflammation. They're using it as to help people with epilepsy. And it has like just a ton of like medical benefits. And I was like, CBD, don't forget those letters. But I was still in the military. I was, I had some baggage. I call it baggage. I don't call it PTSD. I don't call it anything like that. I just call it baggage because we all have baggage. It doesn't matter who we are, where we come from, or what our occupation is, or what our history is. There's the baggage that you picked up along the way. And so we all carry some baggage around. And I had a lot of baggage and I had a lot of noise in my head. And so the only thing I knew to use was alcohol to like turn that noise down and really just drink myself to sleep at night. You don't perform that well the very next day. And some other prescription drugs that were for, things like that. But I was still very interested in this molecule CBD, and I wasn't going to try it, even though I was very interested in it. And I thought it could bring me some benefits because I was still in the military. I was still in the SEAL teams. I still maintain a top secret clearance. And I don't really want to lose my job for taking marijuana or taking drugs. So I waited till I was out, and I was actually out of the military for over a year. So I'm a child of Nancy Reagan's war on drugs. Just say no. I've never tried THC, and I was in Virginia dealing with some stuff. I live in Hawaii, but I was in Virginia dealing with some of my baggage, toxic relationships and things like that. It's not all from work. It's from other things.
Sure.
And I had lunch with a former teammate, and I said, hey, and this was 2019. Hey, I'm going to after lunch, I'm going to go see if I can find some CBD here in Virginia, because maybe what you have in Virginia is better than what we have in Hawaii. I don't know. He's like, oh, you want CBD? I've got some at the house. He's kind of an Instagram influencer now. And so we went back to his house. He gave me a bottle of CBD. That night I slept. Maybe I slept a little bit better, and maybe I was a little less pissed off the next morning. And what I like to tell people is water boils at 212 degrees, and I was living at like 210 degrees. So my fuse was very, very short to like go from like to hit that boiling point.
Great analogy.
And what I noticed was that I didn't notice a whole lot right in the beginning, but what I noticed that over time, my temperature started going down. So I went from like 210 to 205 to 200 to 190, maybe 185. And then I ran out, but I didn't notice it right away. It was more on like, I finished that bottle and I did a little bit of like introspective assessment. And I noticed that I was drinking less at night. I had a little bit better control of my thoughts, some pains in my body. I'm 100% disabled through the VA, which really means I'm 250% disabled if you add all the things up that are wrong with me. And there are some things that didn't get added in. So I'm actually more than that. But anyway, 100% disabled. I got lots of bumps and bruises and aches and pains. And so I noticed that those were less. So I was drinking less. My pain was less. Maybe it was a placebo, maybe not. I tried to, and then I stopped taking the CBD because I ran out, and then those things started getting worse, and I started getting closer to that boiling point. And then I tried, it was like, maybe there was something to that. I tried another brand and I had similar effects. Then I was at a business symposium, a business conference, and I met someone in the CBD industry, and I was like, hey, you're the CBD girl, right? I'm interested, and really I wanted her to hire me. And she was like, well, do you want to do A to B, B to B, B to C? And I'm like, no, ma'am, I want to do CBD. I want I'm trying to get her to hire me. And she's like, why don't you start your own CBD company? I was like, I don't know how to do that. She's like, you're a Navy SEAL. Go figure it out. And I was like, okay, all right. You just trumped my man card. There it is. So that's really kind of how and then I started digging into the CBD industry. I found it was very dirty and corrupt. And most of the CBD products out there are some good CBD products out there, but most of them either didn't have CBD in them. They had high levels of heavy metals, mercury, arsenic, lead, things like that, solvents, pesticides. And like, if you're going to put something in your body to be a medicine, you don't want to, and I'm not a medical professional, but for healing benefits, you don't want to put a bunch of poisons in your body at the same time. So that was really kind of how I got started. Like CBD, like literally changed my life. It positively influenced my life, made my life better, in kind of intangible. Like I can't really truly describe it other than sort of that water boiling and less pain and aches. And I sleep a little bit better. I still only sleep about 6 hours a night, but my quality of sleep is better. I measure my sleep. I drink less. So all of that is a positive change to my life. And that's really why I started Naked Warrior Recovery.
Well, it reminds me of your comments about the industry itself reminds me of a friend I have who is in the nutrition supplements industry. And of course, they're notoriously plagued by the same thing. And what he does is every time he has to develop a new lot of a particular supplement, he has it tested and he posts the test results with the lot number readily available so you can compare it to your bottle with the results of what's actually in the supplement. So for sure that if you bought creatine, you got creatine, like it's 100% pure. Exactly. And I actually think that's going to be maybe something that CBD industry is going to have to do more and more. It's expensive, we actually
do that. We do that. So there, and we go one step further. We put a QR code on every product.
Nice.
So I know we're on Zoom right now, and I don't know if the camera can really pick that up. This is
there it is. Drink that we have. There it is. Yep.
And so there's a QR code, so you can scan the QR code. You can look at the lot number, the batch number, and go and see what's in there. I also put
That's great.
Sometimes I forget and I don't put them all, but most of the test results are on my website. So you can look at your bottle and go to my website and scroll down and find the actual lab results. And so the difference between us and other companies that also do independent third-party testing is we test the oils twice. So we test the oil when it comes out of the plant, and that's when most companies test the oil to make sure that it's all good to go. But we also test the final product to make sure the final product has what we're saying that it has in it. Because there can be something, we're not doing the actual manufacturing of the product. So when we're making gummies or we're making soft gels, the tinctures are pretty easy. But gummies, topicals, there's a third party that's doing that, and they could, there could be something happening in the manufacturing process where some contamination happens. So we test both at the beginning and also at the end to make sure that we're actually giving you what you get. And there are very few companies that are doing that. I mean, even the biggest names that you see for CBD out there, they're not doing that.
Yeah, that's actually what I think is hurting the growth of the industry itself right now is all the shysters that started out selling stuff, and like, you made the point, you tried it worked, then you stopped, then it did, then things came back. I had a similar experience, and I have a lot of inflammation in my body. I have arthritis in my feet, and honestly, using CBD completely reversed all of that for me. But it is true that if you forget to take it for a while, or you stop taking it for a while, you wind up, it all kind of crawls its way back. But it is pretty amazing what it can do. A lot of people in the same boat as you are concerned, about taking CBD. What if I get drug tested or whatnot? But the reality is, most CBD doesn't really have enough THC in it to really even register in a drug test. But I was looking at your website, and like, your pricing on this stuff is excellent. Like, you're right there with any of the top companies that are out there.
Right. I try to be competitive, and I do a lot of discounts also, especially in the veteran first responder world, because it's a pricey product, but you're investing in your health, and that's kind of the way I look at it. I've made a tremendous amount of investment to start this company and get it going, and to have certain products in there, like the product I just showed you a second ago, this powdered water soluble powdered energy drink. And there's not much of that out there in the out there in the industry. And it's a cool super saturated industry. Like, there's a CBD store on every corner you look, everywhere you look.
Now there is.
And it's, so how do you stand out? How do you show that your product is better? How do you convince people to buy from you versus the gas station that's carrying CBD also? And someone actually asked me that question once upon a time. They were like, so what's the difference between your product and the CBD that I can get at the gas station? And I was like, well, this wasn't my answer, but the guy that was standing next to me actually gave the answer. And I was like, yes, I'm using that. Really the answer is, what's the difference between the sushi that you buy from a sushi bar, like a sushi house, and the sushi that you buy at a gas station? Do you really want to roll the bones with gas station sushi? Why would you roll the bones with gas station CBD? It's the same thing. I mean, when you talk about Hawaii, there's really good sushi in the gas station here.
Sure.
But we're a bit of an anomaly.
Different situation. It's just like, it's funny you say that, because my wife is from a small town in Canada, and she always talks about when, during high school years, about going to 7-Eleven and eating their food. And I say, oh my God, like, who would eat 7-Eleven food on a regular basis? But then she showed me, like, they have a kitchen at the 7-Eleven where they cook their food. It isn't the stupid roller where it just sits there and cooks all day long,
for like 3 days.
And I said, well, okay, that makes a lot more sense, but still, there's just, coming from here, there's just the stigma about, I'm not eating 7-Eleven food. Sorry, that's not right. And not unless it came prepackaged from somebody else. But that's interesting, because I was going to say quality. I mean, that's literally the answer, right? I mean,
100%.
Plus, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's no guarantee that CBD that you buy at the gas station actually has CBD in it. And even if it does, a lot of times what they get you on is the people want to, they'll say, all right, for this ailment, this is the dose you should have. And they'll go and buy a bottle with that dose. But the problem is that if they don't read it, that's the total for the whole bottle. It's not the dose, that's the whole bottle. You have to find CBD that the dosing is right for you as well. So that's another thing that I think people need to get involved with and see.
And the interesting thing about that is, people ask me like how much I should take, and the answer is it depends. Like, everyone is different. Sure. And so you kind of have to try and figure out what works best for you. And for me, some days I'll only take like 10 milligrams, maybe 25 milligrams, because I take a CBD soft gel every morning. And then I also take some at night. So I don't take 10 milligrams a day. I take more than that. But there are days where, I'm racing to that boiling point. Like, these certain triggers happen, and I'm like, and so I'll take a lot of CBD, and I still have to deal with whatever it is. It's bothering me. The stress level that is spiking it puts a
Comes
cap on
down.
that spike, and
Yeah.
it helps push it back down. And so that's, it depends on what, why you're taking it. Like, is it for pain? Like, it's not like an ibuprofen where you like take 2 of these and call me in the morning. It helps for me. It's like more chronic pain. Some topicals help out with, more pinpointed pain, but really overall, the pain that I've had relief from is really the chronic pain that I've been dealing with for years and years from different injuries in my previous occupation.
Well, and I think I like my medical doctor is who turned me on to CBD, and
That's awesome.
I had a problem with a pain in my knee, and he was like, well, I can give you this lidocaine that's going to cost you about $70, or I can give you this CBD roll-on that's going to cost you about 20. And so of course you immediately get skeptical and say, well,
Right.
how do I know that's going to work? And he said, well, I've used it, my wife has used it, this other doctor's used it, and we've all had the same experience. It actually is working to relieve the pain, and there's no side effects like there would be with lidocaine. You could have side effects from that. So here, why don't you try it? It's only $20. If it doesn't work, I'll refund you the $20. Worked like a charm. But then we found interesting things, like my oldest daughter has what she thought was a gluten allergy. It turns out it's some other kind of skin condition. But literally, she'd take that CBD roll-on, rub that thing on that rash. She'd get like this about a quarter-sized rash on her arm, and she just put that thing on, put the CBD on there, like 2-3 times a day. Just roll a little thin film on there. In 2 days, gone, no more. And the best part about it was the itch is gone, everything's gone. It's not just hiding it; it actually gets rid of it. It's pretty crazy what it can do. And I think, and let's be real though, Indians have been talking about what marijuana itself can do for your body forever. So
thousands.
They just know something.
It's been used as hemp has been used as medicine for thousands of years.
Yeah, we know
but we didn't know we didn't know how it worked, and now we have a much better idea of how it works and the way it works. And they actually figured this out through studying medical marijuana. And what they did is they put a THC molecule, they put a radioactive isotope, whatever that is, on a THC molecule, and then put that in the human body, and they watched to see what it did. And from there, they found this giant neuroreceptor that's connected to every other system in your body. Think about your digestive system, your central nervous system, your respiratory system, your immune system. It's connected to every system, and it's called the endocannabinoid system, named after cannabis. And it's connected to everything. So if you have something in your body that's a little bit out of whack, well, that's going to pull other things out of balance. And and your body makes natural cannabinoids that we didn't know that before. It makes anandamide, which is also known as the bliss molecule. It's very closely related to THC and 2AG. So these two molecules, anandamide and 2AG, they help feed the endocannabinoid system to help keep it in homeostasis. But sometimes you either have like chronic illness, chronic pain, chronic stuff that's wrong with your body and different systems, and it'll get really out of whack. And so what CBD does, I like to call it like a super multivitamin for your endocannabinoid system. And what it does, that helps feed your endocannabinoid system and bring it back into homeostasis. And that's why people are like, oh, CBD cured my cancer, it cured my whatever. It's not curing anything. It's actually just helping your body heal itself. And so you also with sort of topicals, you also your skin is the largest organ in your body, the largest system in your body. And so they also has endocannabinoid receptors in your skin. So, you can use a topical to get healing, and it's not quite as effective as, taking something oral, but it certainly will help the sort of pinpoint, different dysfunctions or things like that with your skin or pains that are just under the surface.
It's interesting because I actually recently, within last year, went to visit a acupuncturist, and he provided me with this spray, right? And when you look at the spray, the ingredients just say like menthol, water, something else, and then a proprietary blend. So I said, I'm curious. I'm like, is there CBD in this? And he said, how did you know? And I said, because my body responds to this exactly how it responds to my CBD roll-on. It responds the exact way. He said, yeah, it's one of the secret ingredients in there is the CBD. And I thought it's funny because probably it's mostly CBD, a little bit of menthol to give it a smell and like that cool sensation on your skin.
Right.
And that's pretty much, and some water, but it's crazy because I was having some problems with tension in my upper back. And so he worked on that and he'd get it to release. But he said, you know what, when you're sitting at your computer all day, take this spray it across your shoulders and the back. It works. It just works.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
And it relieves headaches. I mean, it's crazy what it can do. So I have to ask, because it was in your bio and it intrigued me. What is the get naked mindset?
I'm glad you asked. So, and
well, your shirt
my
says
shirt
it too,
says
so.
Get naked also. So you don't forget to ask.
Right.
So, I talked about, my struggles and how CBD sort of helped me. I had, kind of the negative self-talk, and I was really I knew that I was sort of going in the wrong direction. I knew I was going very much in the wrong direction. I had some failures. I had, some things in my civilian life, because as I transitioned out of the military, I say that like my transition from the military to civilian life is the hardest military mission I've ever been on. And so CBD was a modality that helped me get where I was going, where I am now. But I also had to change my mindset. And so getting naked is about taking off your ego. And I had a lot of ego. I didn't think that I should be failing. I realized that failure is actually part of the process. I went from having income to no income. I had a lot of struggles. And, again, I was using alcohol to kind of mask some of those. I had other baggage that was weighing me down. And so CBD was a modality that helped kind of quiet some of this noise in my head so that I could actually take control. And so what Get Naked is about taking off your ego, because, ego, we wear it around like armor. And, in the SEAL teams, we put our body armor on to go into combat. Sometimes it helps us out. It saves our lives. And other times we don't need it. But we come back, we always take our armor off. We go hit the showers. We get ready for the next mission. We go out the door. We put our armor on. We don't do that in life. We just carry this crap around with us all the time. So Get Naked is about taking off your armor and putting it in the corner so that you can get a little bit of relief, a little bit of recovery, be exposed for a little bit. Some people are scared to do that. I certainly was. And so I also took my 26 years of service and figured out what mindset, created success for me in the SEAL teams. And so I turned that into an acronym, and the acronym is NAKED, and it's the N stands for never quit. And I don't mean like never quit smoking or drinking or watching porn or drugs or whatever. Never quit being in a toxic relationship. You should never quit means never quit on yourself. It means never quit trying to improve where you are. It means if you start something, if you start a project, you start a degree, you start a company, and it makes sense to keep going, you'd never quit. And it seems unattainable. I want to be a 7-figure entrepreneur or whatever. That you can't do that overnight. You got to chop that, that goal up into small pieces. You got to make $1,000 before you can make $10,000, before you can make $100,000, and so on. So what you do is you chop that goal up. And so in SEAL training, in Hell Week is 5.5 days of no sleep. And it's really, right at the beginning of SEAL training, it's like week number 5. And a lot of that's where we lose. So we lose about 70% up to Hell Week of the class. And then of those people that are left, we lose another 70% of the guys that were left. So Hell Week is a big attrition builder right there. But what is awesome about Hell Week is they feed you 4 times a day. So it doesn't matter how terrible the scenario is, how much it sucks, how cold and miserable you are, how tired you are of carrying that boat around in your head. You know that in a little while, all you got to do is make it to lunch. All you got to do is make it to dinner. All you got to do is make it to the midnight meal, because they're always going to feed you, and you get to sit down and not be in this chaos for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then you start up again. And so what you do is you just chop whatever your goal is up into these bite-sized attainable portions so that you can consume them. And that's what never quit is. The A is accept failure. Failure is the foundation of success. In my opinion, I've had a lot of failure in my time, and if you look at the most successful people in the world, you look at Michael Jordan, most successful basketball player. He's missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. He's lost more than 300 games. He's lost, I think, over 30 game-winning shots. And you know what happened? Every time he missed a shot, maybe they won, maybe they lost, he would go back to the gym that night, back to the court, and he would practice that shot until he didn't miss it again in every scenario. So he accepted failure and he got better from it. Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, 2 of the most successful entrepreneurs that are in, Steve Jobs has passed, but he's still, it built an empire. And both of those guys were fired as CEOs of the first companies they started.
Right.
Thomas Edison he found 10,000 ways to not create the incandescent light bulb once upon a time. 10,000 failures before he finally got to success. And that's what accept failure. Okay, don't do it that way. I learned lots of ways to not do it until I finally get the right way to do it. The K is kill mediocrity. We're surrounded by mediocrity today. It's super easy to like order ice cream from your phone from Amazon and have it delivered to your house. Not so much here in Hawaii. It's a little takes a little bit longer, but we're just surrounded by like scrolling and finding excuses to not work out, to not achieve your goals, to not get up and not hit the snooze button. And that every time you do that, you create a loss in your life. You don't have any victories for the day. And the way to keep going and to never quit and to fail and accept those failures is to actually take action. And so when you're just scrolling and making excuses, you're being mediocre. So in order to really get naked, it takes action. It takes work. So you have to kill that mediocrity. The E is expose your fears. And I don't mean like spiders and snakes and things like that. I mean those fears that are in the back of your mind, those things that you don't talk to people about, those things that bother you, those things that really control you. They control how you act, how you feel. And I talk about fear like it's a vampire, because vampires live in the darkness and they suck the life out of you. And that's what fear does. And no one wants to talk about vampires. No one wants to talk about what they're afraid of. But if you're able to expose the fear, if you're able to pull it from the back of your brain and put it into the sunlight, put it in the light, expose it, you will control those fears, and those fears will no longer control you. It's not an easy process, but a friend of mine, I actually have a business coach who says fear does not exist on paper. And so if he's driving down the road and he's got stuff that's just like churning in his mind and it's like creating all the stress and anxiety, he'll pull over, he'll go to Starbucks and he'll pull out a pen and a piece of paper, not type it out on his phone or anything else. When you write something down, it does something. It transfers from your brain onto that piece of paper. And he says fear does not exist on paper. So he will write down all the things that are bothering him, and then he'll read it. And he might even read it out loud. And he's like, that's really what was bothering me. When you look at it and like pull it out of the darkness, you're like, really? It's that simple? But yeah, so you expose the fears. Now you control the fear. The fear no longer controls you. And the D is to do the work, because this all requires action. This requires work. It's not easy. It's simple. I say get naked. It's that simple, but it's not easy. It's simple. You just take it off. You expose it. You just never quit. You accept the failure. You kill the mediocrity. You expose your fears. You got to do the work. The work is the hard part. And so do the work. And that's really the get naked mindset. And what I tell people is to just, apply it to one thing in your life. And if people want to see what the get naked mindset is, I kind of went over it kind of quickly, but I created a document. And if you go to the number 5, SEALsecrets.com, 5SEALsecrets.com, just drop your name and email address, and I'll send you a copy of, it's a PDF. It's about 7 or 8 pages, and you can go through it and read through it. And I actually print it out and I go through it all the time. I wrote it, I teach it, and I still need that reminder sometimes. So, go to 5SEALsecrets.com, super easy to get to, and I'll just send you this PDF for free. It's not a big deal. And then we can roll from there. But that's really what the get naked mindset. It's about taking your ego off, but it's also about never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, expose your fears, and do the work.
Oh, that is totally awesome. Like you mentioned something about failures, and I know in our family, as you can see from my jersey, we're big into hockey, and my son used to play ice hockey, and his favorite goalie was Martin Brodeur from the New Jersey Devils. And that guy had every single time in a playoff game that he'd get lit up for more than 3 goals, the next game would be a shutout. And it's that mindset of a champion. You say to yourself, I've failed this many times. This next one's not going to be a failure. But you take what you learn from those failures and you turn those into successes. I mean, there's a quote from somebody about, the road to success is paved with failure. And it's true, because it's a philosophy I've always taught my kids. You don't get, if you don't ask for something, then the best you're going to get is not get it. But if you ask for something, the worst that's going to happen is you're not going to get it. And so it's like same thing with success and failure. If you don't try something, you can't succeed or fail. It's just
And a lot of
you're
times
just
that's
gonna
that
float.
fear. I'm afraid to ask a
Fear,
question.
yeah.
I'm afraid to ask for help because someone may think that I'm weak. And this was, of these 5 SEAL secrets, and it's interesting talking to different people. For me, it was expose my fears. And, I came from a very poor family, and I did all right as an adult, really in the military. But I was always afraid of failure. I was always afraid to look weak or anything like that. And that was probably the thing that helped me back the most. When I really needed help, I was afraid to ask. And it wasn't until I exposed those fears, I was brave enough. I had to be brave enough to expose those fears in order to and accept failure to really to ask for help and to find the healing that I needed.
Well, that's great. I mean, I've really appreciated the time you spent with me today. We've had some great information. Why don't you let people know I'm definitely going to go to the 5seals.com site
5 SEAL
myself.
Secrets.
Yeah, 5sealsecrets.com and
yeah.
download that PDF because it sounds very interesting to me. But why don't you let people know where they can find you?
So on Instagram, I'm at Naked Warrior Recovery. My CBD website is nw-recovery.com or Naked Warrior Recovery, all one word.com. I made it NW-recovery because I thought maybe people didn't want to write naked into their search engine. So
yeah.
And NW-recovery, some people forget the dash and it goes to Northwest Recovery something, which is not where you want to go. I mean, maybe you do if you have a substance abuse problem, but for the CBD, NW-recovery.com or Naked Warrior Recovery. And those are those are where I hang out the most on Instagram, on my website, and 5sealsecrets.com.
Well, everything that he just said will be in our notes, so it's easy for you to find. You don't have to sit there and write it down real quickly, and it'll be hyperlinked. So, but thanks again for your time. And this was another episode of the Technology Alchemists. Stop this bad boy.